Wouldn't it be great if you could get a PhD in life through baseball? Welcome to Baseball PhD, a tour company for your brain. 30 major league teams, 100 places to see. Let's touch them all as we make the road trip of a lifetime.
Baseball PhD, welcome. We're at the architectural firm of Populous, and I'm here with Mike Wekesser. Mike was the lead architect? For lead designer for Target Field. So why don't you show us some of the things that you've done with Target Field?
Sure. Target Field is probably the smallest ballpark we've ever worked with as far as footprint, the way it's set on the site. It was defined by two streets, 7th and 5th Street. Very small site, very confining, but gave a lot of opportunities for us at the same time. It seats roughly 40,000, a little bit more than 40,000, roughly 56 suites in it. It's an open-air ballpark, which of course is different than what they're used to right now with the dome. Over 20 years they've been inside a dome with weather at 70 degrees, perfect environment. Now they're going to be outdoors. They're going to be able to experience the ballpark outdoors with the green grass, the sunlight, night games with the moon rising over the ballpark too. You bet.
Now correct me if I'm wrong, Target Field's sitting on a blueprint or a footprint of about 8.5 acres.
That's about right.
How does that equate to an old-fashioned ballpark like an Ebbets Field or even a Wrigley Field?
We actually took a footprint of Wrigley and put it over the top of the ballpark, at the top of this site, and it would fit inside our ballpark right now. We roughly need 14 to 16 acres for a ballpark. Okay. So you're right, eight were about half the acreage that we normally need to have. Right. Yeah, Wrigley, Fenway might stick out on the edges a little bit, but they would sit inside our ballpark. Okay. Our ballpark now. Good.
So you're getting back to the future in a way.
Back to the future, yeah. Okay. Absolutely.
So what are some of the features that we have at Target Field?
Well, one thing you have the outdoors, of course. You've got it all exposed. One thing we have is we have a floating canopy or a roof over the top of it that's wrapped in metal panel. All the field lights are within that panel. You're not going to see vertical standards that come up and hang out lights like you would see at Fenway. Right. But it'll be wrapped inside that roof, so it'll sit over the top and float. We've got some images of it. You can kind of see the elevation here. Right. It sits here. The building is basically stone, which matches the limestone that exists in Minnesota itself. Okay. In fact, it's only quarried about a 2-hour drive from Minneapolis. Okay. The roof sits over the top of that. It's one of the biggest canopies in Major League Baseball. And it's partly just to give them cover from the cold weather as well as shade in the summer. Also, the ballpark has, basically what we had to do was build over the top of 394, the interstate. See, this image right here is, whoops, a little dusty. The interstate 394 runs right over the ballpark. We had to bridge across with the 6th Street Plaza into the new ballpark. So you have to actually walk across. We had to build a city to build a ballpark, if you would. Right, right. Also, a light rail line runs right up next to the ballpark. I don't think we have an image of that.
No, from what I have read, that was probably your biggest challenge because you had to relocate some of a railway, which is not an easy thing, probably politically, environmentally, all that stuff.
Absolutely. Burlington Northern Rail Line is on basically the northeastern side of our ballpark, and it runs underneath the ballpark again, underneath the third base side, I'm sorry. That's where the visitor side clubhouse is, because it squeezed our site. But you're correct, we had to move that light rail line up and away. I think it was about 24 feet, if I'm right. Not usually done very often.
Now, have you tested it? Will the visitors feel the rumble of a train if it's...
Trains have ran underneath it. You will hear the horn as the train comes up, but you don't hear any rumbling or feel any rumbling. Okay. As far as we know. Good, good. Doesn't affect the camera.
Unless there's a runaway freight train, then we'll test that theory.
We'll all know that.
Now, I guess you also have some heating elements, correct, for Target Field? Let's start on the field itself. What did you do?
Well, the field itself has internal heating units inside it, so it keeps the field warm. So, you know, for instance, in April, it can be very cold. It can snow in Minneapolis, like we saw in Milwaukee not too long ago. Was it Milwaukee or was it Cleveland?
Cleveland had a problem where we got snowed out like 6 games in a row, and the commissioner said, you better start playing in Milwaukee. You can't get too many rainouts.
Well, we're anticipating that. We've gone ahead and put heaters underneath the field. It warms the field. It keeps it warm so that when snow hits it, it melts off of it, in effect. Right now, they're scooping snow off of the ballpark right now and removing it so that it's so that it melts for game time.
Does that give any advantage to the Twins field crew? Are they going to be able to do something that you never could do in a northern climate, getting the turf ready, or
like a home field advantage?
I don't know if it'll be a home field advantage, but it'll allow the head groundskeeper to maybe start doing stuff in March, where traditionally, let's say with the Memorial Stadium, it's like I had to wait till April, or I wouldn't plant sod in October, but with the heat, maybe it'll give it some advantage.
It could. I think we'll find that out as we move through cycles of the year with their experience with the field. We haven't anticipated that, but that could be a possibility.
So we're about 6 weeks away from opening day.
Yep.
From a standpoint of a world-class architect, is your work 98% done? What remains between now and when you go to opening day and finally let that baby out?
You're right, 98% of it is probably done at this point.
Okay.
We're still doing odds and end touch-up and adding signage. There's always a few items that the Twins and baseball organizations want to add at the last minute. We're also getting ready for opening, also helping the Twins get ready for that as well.
Right.
They're bringing in... they'll be bringing in the food. They'll be bringing in all the equipment they need to start up for opening. There will be a couple run-throughs before that. We'll have some exhibition games before that. I think 2 or 3.
Okay.
Even the Gophers might play here, I think, on the week ahead, but I'm not sure of that.
Good.
So there's a chance they're going to get a chance to get a run-through. A couple times fans will be able to see the ballpark quick. And we'll see what happens then.
Of the projects that you've worked on prior to Target Field, which project helped you the most to design Target Field?
I don't know if one in particular did.
Okay.
I think the fact I've worked on 5 ballparks now with Target Field.
And the 5 are?
Petco Park in San Diego, Citizens Bank Park in Philadelphia, Busch Stadium in St. Louis, and then we did a lot of retrofit and some additions to Wrigley Field in the outfield also.
Okay.
So all of those had unique conditions and unique situations to them that helped lend itself to this ballpark as well. This is the smallest site we've ever worked on, so that created challenges but also opportunities. I think the seating bowl is extraordinarily intimate. You're right up next to the action because of that.
In fact, I've read that the foul territory will be the smallest in the major leagues.
It's squeezed. I don't know if it's the smallest, but it definitely
I thought I read that.
I think the Twins are saying that, yeah.
So it's definitely got to help the hitters. There'll be many guys that say, thank God that was a foul ball.
They will, but it's not a hitter's park and it's not a pitcher's park at the same time. The Twins were very adamant on making it fair.
Okay.
And the dimensions are close.
Just like the Metrodome, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Well, the dimensions are close to the Metrodome, but not exact, yeah.
Okay. Very good.
You won't have a blue baggie out in the outfield.
Now, it's my understanding that opening day is when? Is it April 12th?
April 12th, yeah.
So on April 13th, what's your next project? What are you going to do with your life, Mike?
I'm going to take some time off and relax for a while.
Is that kind of the paradigm here, that when you do a major project?
No, we hope to start up right away. But,
okay.
There's things in the irons. Don't know, can't really tell you what they all are, but we're looking at stuff.
Do you specialize in ballparks only? Have you done soccer stadiums? An architect is an architect, whatever they'll have you do?
No, we're sports. We're architects. We primarily work in sports architecture, of course, but I've done a couple arenas. We work on some minor league projects, but our firm also does football stadiums, soccer, just like you said, too. And we're doing the international market as well as the domestic market, too.
I think one thing I've missed from your very, very impressive profile, no Japanese baseball stadiums or ballparks.
We're approaching that and pursuing that right now.
But with the exception of that, it's like you guys are on top of the world.
We are. Japan, though, is a market that's we think is ready to kick off, though, too. It hasn't been a market that we haven't not approached. It's just a market that hasn't been there yet. So it's starting. China as well.
Right. And I think South Korea has a pretty good sports league, too. At least
I hope at some point we'll be down in Cuba, too.
Yeah, well...
That's another
only after a while. We get what we want.
Exactly.
But, well, Mike, thank you very much, and good luck. On April 12th, we will be thinking of you when we hear play ball.
Come on out. You bet.
Thank you.
Great.